What's going on, everybody? It's Brian Trippe. I am here in beautiful Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome to another episode of the REI Live podcast, Real Estate Investing Live. I'm located here in Birmingham, but we have affiliates all throughout the country that we want to make sure that we talk to on a pretty regular basis. So stay tuned for that. You're going to have some really great content from all throughout the country. And I am a little sick. I'm getting over a little bit, so I apologize. I'm a little bit hoarse, but we're going to push through it because we have an incredible guest, as we always have. We always have incredible guests. And we have today Mr. Greg. I don't want to mess up your last name. You got to help me now.
Yeah, Pinneo. 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 Yeah.
Greg Pinneo. I just recently kind of learned a little bit about you. I was very fortunate to go to a really good friend of ours, Wayne Taylor's home, to hear you speak right here in Birmingham. I'm very grateful that for the opportunity to kind of hear from you and to be invited to that event. I would love for you just to kind of take just a minute to tell everybody who you are, what you've done in real estate, and what you're up to today.
That is a paragraph question. Brian, in the context of this conversation, the real estate side of things, I bought a house when I was 17. It closed a couple days after my 18th birthday. Had a couple roommates that lived with me that paid me $100 each in rent, and my payment was $206.10 a month for my first house. Well, I was hooked. That was it. And that was that 18th birthday was now 43 plus years ago. And actually 42 plus years ago, I've been at this over 4 decades. Full time, it's all I've ever done is the world of entrepreneurial real estate, acquisition, development, buy and hold, develop, keep houses, apartments, multiplexes, mixed use, et cetera, et cetera. What a journey it's been. I am married to an incredible bride. She is a West Point girl, born and raised. We have 5 children. I'm a very blessed man to just have done what I wanted to do pretty much every day of my life since I was 18.
So I've heard your story, and it's absolutely phenomenal. It's incredible. Obviously 40 plus years in the real estate business, you're going to have some incredible insight and advice to anyone who's in real estate, but not just real estate. I'm kind of reading about your story, and it's really just entrepreneurship. Like you've done a lot of stuff when it comes to business, and I want to dig into all that. But before we do that, Greg, I think if anyone didn't know who you were and just tried to Google search your name, some stuff's going to come up. And I wanted to kind of get, there's, the elephant in the room. I want to kind of get it out of the way first. So I feel like people can have like more of a better ear and a better heart to hear the great things that you have to say. But first, I want you to talk about some stuff that's happened in your past. And if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a couple follow-up questions about it as well.
You bet. I'll put them in 2 buckets that at different times, but 2 things that I've dealt with, both of which I didn't see coming. The thing about being an entrepreneur is that you're thrown into this beautiful life, but the reality is that you're the CEO of every department of your business. Whether you know about it or not, you're the CEO. It puts a premium on education, but a lot of things you learn by doing. And when you're the first guy in the door, and I've always been the first guy in the door, sometimes the first guy in the door gets shot. If you want to play a very, very safe life and sit in the stands and only come down on the field when all the shooting stops, well, you may never get hurt. But when you're the first guy in the door, sometimes things happen. One chapter, you'd have to set it in the context of time. I'm in my mid-30s. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of units that I own. I'm a professor at Seattle Pacific University teaching hundreds and hundreds of young men and women how to buy and finance and deal in real estate. I've got a real estate office and a brokerage with 40 some agents in my office. We are buying real estate left, right, forwards, backwards. And I'm the owner, I'm the broker, I'm the general contractor, I'm the professor, I'm the guy that everybody is coming to. I got a visit from the FBI at my office with a file, and they asked me to explain something. He was following up on what was known as a suspicious activity complaint, a file that a bank did a sub-escrow on a file and saw something that didn't look right to them, and so they turned in a suspicious activity complaint. So he came to my office and he put this file on the table and he said, "Can you look over this deal and tell me if you recognize it? This is an agent in your office who did this deal." And I'm going to use round numbers. This is, let's say it's a $100,000 acquisition. It was a non-owner occupied deal. The agent put $20,000 down, got an $80,000 non-owner occupied loan from a federally insured lending institution, and that deal closed. Later that same day, he borrowed $20,000 on a promissory note and recorded a second deed of trust on that property on the same day as the first position bank loan closed.
Which is illegal.
Well, and here is the exact wording. The FBI agent put the file in front of me, and right there in the documents, the loan documents, the first position loan documents, it says, on the day of closing, buyer, seller, and escrow warrant that there is no secondary financing associated with this transaction. Okay, now, is this a clause we knew? Of course we did. I read my loan documents, and of course, as a broker, I'm teaching agents, I'm teaching everybody, listen, this is very important. Now, why did they say this in the loan documents? First of all, let's look at the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law is to ensure that the first position lender is recorded in first position.
Right,
So
because sometimes if there are two loans recorded in the same, it could be recorded at the same time. One could get recorded before if it's on the same day.
That's exactly it. And so they make sure that their loan is recorded in first position. They don't allow anything else recorded on that day. They do a sub-escrow to make sure they're in first position. And on Tuesday, if you took out a second mortgage, white is the driven snow, no problem. But if it is recorded on the same day, so this sub-escrow processor picks up a loan recorded on the same day. Now, why was it recorded on the same day? Well, the investor happened to be in town on that day, called this broker of mine, this agent of mine, and said, "Is there any way we can do this today because I'm going out of town?" Now, this is before the days of DocuSign and things that can happen without people even there, right? And so the agent called the mortgage broker, said, "Is there a way we can do this the same day?" Mortgage broker said, "Let me talk to escrow." Escrow said, "I can make sure that the first is recorded, done, back, sealed, done, and only do this after I got recording numbers." The mortgage broker said, "That would be fine. It's just that we have to be recorded in first position before you can do anything else." Okay, do you see the scenario? The FBI started this investigation. They spent a year on this investigation. They looked into everything I had ever bought in my life. They talked to every seller I'd ever dealt with. They talked to every banker I'd ever dealt with. And what they found, here were the charges put in front of us, that they found over the 1,000+ deals that they looked at with my office, me, and everything, that there were 5 deals under the sphere of my influence. Now this went to a student at the university, agents, etc. 5 deals under the sphere of my influence where there was a second loan recorded the same day as the first position loan. It happened to be done with the same bank, the same escrow person, the same title company, always involved. And so they hauled us all in and gave us an opportunity in about 4 hours to make a decision to all plead guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit bank fraud. We had 4 hours to make the decision. Lead prosecutor, Western District Court, United States, sat us all at a table, said, here's what we've come up with. Same bank, same escrow. All of you have broken the law. Then he sort of matter of fact admitted that, oh, by the way, of these 5 deals that we're looking at, they've all been sold. Every lender has been cashed out. Every second mortgage holder cashed out. There is no exposure. There is no damage, but they have found technically 5 places where you broke the law. Now, I'm the leader of the conspiracy because I'm the broker, owner, teacher. I'm the one in charge. And we had 4 hours to make a decision. Do you sign a plea agreement and take your lumps, or do you fight it? And I had the best attorneys there that said, Greg, they don't have to prove anything other than there was a second mortgage recorded the same day, period. That's it. It's not, was there damage? Was there intent? No, that's it. All they have to do is prove it was recorded the same day. And if they succeed, the ramifications are huge. 5 counts of bank fraud is what they would charge you with going to court, or 1 count of conspiracy. Well, we felt we had no choice.
Right.
And we all had to sign or nobody got the deal, by the way.
Right.
So I felt compelled that the only way to handle this properly for the others involved was to take my lumps, because as the leader, of course, I got charged more harshly than they did.
Right. So I'm not here to sit here and try to rehash something that's 20 plus years old. And that's not the purpose of the interview. That's not why I wanted to have you on the show. But I think it is really important to talk about some specific things. And I've got just a couple of questions. So, I mean, just some follow-up questions. Obviously, there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this, period. If you're the leader of anything, obviously we all need to, be dotting our I's, crossing our T's. But I want to go back to something that you said. You said that you knew the loan documents. You've read the loan documents. You knew them forward and backwards. And it sounds to me like you were also saying that the loan officer that was there, and I read this in some materials I read, he gave you the verbal okay, but what was written in the actual loan document said you couldn't do it. But you did it 5 times, 6 times.
Yeah.
Talk about why was it done all at this kind of at the same time? Was it spread out?
It's a great question, Brian. First of all, it was a female loan mortgage rep who represented the bank.
Gotcha. Yep.
And she was one of the very, very best in the industry. Teresa was incredible. And so I would recommend her to all of my agents, to all of my students. Boy, you want an amazing loan rep. Use Teresa. Well, at the same, Steve ran the most incredible 2nd generation escrow company in the whole Northwest. Been around forever. Oh my gosh, no escrow person you should ever use except Steve. So by their recommendations, they were the ones people used. Now my office, knowing that with the broker's permission, everybody was able to do this the same day, it seemed that we were in the clear, because Teresa would give Steve very clear instructions. So, okay, it's okay if we do this the same day, but here's the reason this little line exists in our loan documents. Well, the fact of the matter, Brian, it wasn't her loan documents. It was a bank's loan documents that is a federally insured bank. And so think of it as their federal loan documents. It wasn't hers to amend. Now there's the mistake right there. if we were to ever even think we needed to do this again, it's so simple as to get that in writing from the bank. Here's the reason this clause exists. Now, they would have to probably go to the feds because their charter demands certain documents. Now, so yes, one takeaway is everything that in business, every agreement should always be in writing. That would have helped. But at the same time, I said it would have helped. They were very, very clear in interviewing her that she gave us permission to do it. But of course, the reason she got charged was because she was not in a position to be able to give that permission, nor was escrow in a position. In other words, it says buyer, seller, escrow, everyone agrees there's no secondary financing on the day of closing.
Right.
We did hundreds of deals where secondary financing was the next day. No problem.
So that was going to be my next question. Was there a specific strategy that you were using to do these deals? If you did hundreds of them and only 5 or 6 of them were the culprits of all this,
sure,
they were the ones that got recorded the same day. Because the reason I'm asking you this question is because, and this is an article that you link up on your website, it says that this is a scam. It used that word, that it was a scam.
Right. Sure. Yeah. And I want everybody, first of all, to read everything that has ever come out around this topic. That's why I put it on my website. It's a tab that says shit happens. Right. And I give every link I can possibly give to say, read everything, because this is how this will be spun. There was no scam. There was no scam. Nobody was scamming anybody. Brian, I'm the youngest Eagle Scout in the state of Washington, and I really work to follow everything that a Scout oath says, as in trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, on and on. I really mean it. But I want everyone to see how this can be spun. The fact of the matter is, it's simply the principle of recapitalization. If we know that the property is worth $120,000, $130,000, and we pay $100,000, right? We want to recapitalize our down payment and any rehab costs we can as soon as possible, right? And so, if the cash flow of the property will handle an $80,000 loan plus a $20,000 or $30,000 second, that gives us our working capital back to buy more real estate. Now, it all has to fit a formula of cash flow and value. I don't want to over leverage property, and I don't want to over cash flow property. But if it fits that formula, I want in growing years to pull as much equity as I can back out of the property to buy more property. Leverage is the key to creating wealth in this business, responsible leverage. And so, this was a tool that we could have private investors lend us the down payment money, lend us the rehab money, be in a second position at a preferred interest rate. We have an 80% first position loan, a 20% second, maybe even a little more on the acquisition price, but all told, never more than about 85% total loan against after repaired value. And it's got a cash flow.
Yeah.
We bought hundreds and hundreds of houses in my office with the same lender, with the same formula, with private investors, and everyone always got paid. And it's a tremendous tool. The toolbox of entrepreneurship, it has as many books as a library. And this is one tool that we use an awful lot. And with incredible people. I am still very close friends with Teresa and Steve. You'd think that after all of this, all of those who were involved, 2 other agents in my office, obviously the one that did it initially, right? And 2 others, right? So there's the total, but it's not like if we did something wrong, really wrong, like intending to hurt someone, boy, I'll tell you, I'm a piece of crap. The most difficult day of my life was literally all of us going to school with the attorneys that were representing us to learn how to act when entering our plea of guilty so that we could get 2 points off for acceptance of responsibility. We had to convince the judge that we were sorry for what we did. And you know what? The judge that had this case, William Dwyer, if you research him, he knew that we hadn't done anything, and he resigned a month after this case. Research him, and he will tell you. Or give his son a call and talk to him. This case took him out of being a federal judge. He was so disturbed by it. The most gross injustice that he's ever seen in 30 plus years of being on the bench. The fact of the matter is, if the government grabs you, they will hand you a pea shooter and they get a machine gun and surround you and say, do you want to fight? Very few people can fight with the federal government.
Yeah.
And believe me, I love our country. I love this place that we live. But at the same time, don't try to tangle with them. The best thing we could do, take our lumps, try to find the tuition in the situation. 9 months in a week, I was in a federal prison. Boy, if that isn't a sabbatical in life, I don't know what is. And I took a lot of notes. And I saw humanity that I didn't know existed. I learned a language I didn't know existed. It's caused in me to be incredibly compassionate and aware of a whole slice of humanity that I didn't even know existed. I'd never been in trouble for anything in my life. But I'll tell you, it's formed the last 20 years and changed me in a lot of really good ways. The letter of the law is critical, Brian, not the spirit. The no blood, no foul that I was raised with, like with my older brother, hey, don't whine if there isn't blood.
Right.
No, that doesn't exist in the world of business. So that's one chapter. In a similar chapter, right, I put several Regulation D private offerings together to bring in people to own equity in buildings. Great tool, best attorneys, best CPAs, very technical system, because what you're doing is you're offering securities, right? If you sell a share in an LLC, that's a security. So it's a security offering. And one person bought one share in one building. One share in one building. They paid $34,000 and change for one share in one building. A year and a half after buying that share, of course, I'm the managing member, they called me up and they said, Greg, I'm going through this personal situation in life, and I want to sell my share, and I want to sell it to you and get my money back. And I said, okay, well, I can appreciate that you want to sell your share, and I'm sorry what you're going through in life, but of course the membership agreement has instructions of exactly the process to follow if you want to sell your non-publicly traded share. And so we have to follow the membership agreement to the letter. That's why we have a membership agreement. And so here's the procedure. It's outlined in these pages of the operating agreement of the LLC. What came back to me is, listen, I don't want to follow any procedures of LLC. I want my money back. I want an 8% return. And if you don't give me my money back plus 8% return, I'm going to call an attorney that will raise holy hell. That was a quote. And I said, gosh, I really am sorry you're upset. I really am sorry that you need your money back that badly. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that if I wanted to. I would be in default of the membership agreement as the managing member. Well, what'd they do? Call an attorney. Attorney writes a letter to the DFI in the state of Washington. The DFI gets a complaint. They have to research it. They have no choice but to research it. And by the way, on 3 different buildings, there's over 100 people involved. So I want you to see the odds of when you deal with 100 different individuals, right? You're going to be dealing with humanity now, right? Well, anyway, there you go. Now the state DFI has it. 2 years of putting all 3 of those Reg D offerings under the white lights. You know what I came out with? A $50 fine. $50 fine for not registering the Regulation D on the day it was created, which was really my attorney's fault, which he took responsibility for. It cost me about $50,000 of attorney's fees to go through that scrutiny.
Right.
But ultimately, every offering that was put together was seen to be compliant with all of the regulations with a Regulation D non-public securities offering.
Yeah.
Wow. I can tell you that what I learned out of that was this. Thank God that that deal was put together by an excellent attorney, excellent CPAs, and that I held, not caving in to just say, well, gosh, I don't want you unhappy, here's your money back, because that's what would have really got me in trouble. When you're a managing member of the LLC, you have to follow the guidelines that are set forth of the LLC. So it was 2 years of scrutiny, but everything we did in those situations turned out to be absolutely compliant.
So I think that thank you, by the way, Greg. I really do appreciate you taking the time to explain some stuff. I just want all you guys to know that are listening to this that I take everybody seriously. And anyone who comes on our show, I take it extremely seriously. I do the research. I want to make sure that we have incredible guests, incredible people on our show that can provide you guys with just the absolute best content in the real estate space that you can find anywhere. And that's what I'm committed to. And that's what REI Live is committed to. And Greg is that. And I want to get to some of your incredible content that you have that I've been digging into over the past few days and, the past few months since I've gotten to know you a little bit. But I want to just take 1 second and just pause and just, because this kind of stuff comes up for me too, Greg, especially when you start talking about wholesaling. Mm-hmm. This is something that, we've had attorneys on our show. We've had, Jeff Watson, who is a wholesaling, he does a lot of stuff with wholesaling, law and things like that. John Heyer's been on our show. Mm-hmm. Guys, these guys are warning you. Like Greg is really, this is a warning. I see it as, to all of the kind of fly-by-night entrepreneurs that are out there that are trying to just do it on their own and do it by the seat of their pants. And you know what? I hear this a lot, I'll either win or I'll learn. Well, sometimes when you learn, you learn in a penitentiary. You know what I'm saying? You learn, by getting locked up. So I don't necessarily agree with all of that. What is the law? Not the letter of the law, the actual law, and let's follow the law. And the biggest thing my biggest takeaway is wholesaling, because I see it almost every single day, people breaking the law when it comes to wholesaling property. And we've had people on our show talk about how to do it the legal and compliant way. And there are still people out there, even in our group, that are in our private group, still doing it illegally. And these are the kinds of things where, Greg, you just said that these guys were building a case against you for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a guy that we know that Jeff talked about when he was on our podcast. I think it was in December of last year. They were building a case against the guy for years, and he didn't know anything about it. But they ended up finding him $250,000 or $350,000 and something like that. Guys, this is not entrepreneurship, business, real estate. These are not things to take lightly. You need to know what you're doing. You need to, Greg, you just got done talking about, I wrote it down. Excellent attorneys is what saved your butt. Excellent CPAs is what saved your butt. How many of us, I can't tell you how many times I get the question, where can I get an LLC formed the cheapest? Right. Should I go to LegalZoom? How can I get this done the cheapest and the quickest? And it's like, go use the guys that do this, that are the best. It's not that expensive. Just go to the guys that are the best.
Right. Yeah. I am, Brian, I just came from a weekend in Las Vegas this last weekend, the Entrepreneurial All-Star Weekend, and 21 presenters up front that I put up front. These are the best of the best in the country. And one of them, an attorney, Jeremy Lipton, spoke kind of on behalf of entrepreneurship, and what an incredible guy. Mike Cantu out of Los Angeles has wholesaled over 2,000 houses in Los Angeles. He spoke. People, I've got students up there that have $20-30 million worth of projects going on right now. When you are really in the entrepreneurial game, you have a team. You have a team. I think of students of mine in Seattle that have 3 projects totaling about 20 million going on right now. They have 5 attorneys, 5 different attorneys that are on their team. Because in the arena, there are holes, there are lions that come out of the dirt on chains. There are all kinds of pitfalls and things that can leave a mark. You've got to be educated. You've got to protect yourself. You've got to surround yourself by people who see things coming that you've never seen before. Quite honestly, as a coach, Brian, it's my greatest advantage. What do I have to offer people? I've fallen in every hole that's out there. I see them coming a mile away. I'm like a guide for, some rare animal. I've been out there so long in the woods, I can smell them 2 miles away. I know how they move. That's the advantage of seasoned veterans, is that it's not what's gone right, it's what's gone wrong that make us valuable. And so this is why I get paid a lot of money with the best in the country to guide them, because I have so much experience. Do you remember that movie where Mel Gibson is in, I think it's Lethal Weapon, where they're all showing off their bullet wounds and their knife scars, and they're comparing how many times they've been shot and stabbed. Well, that's why they're the best cops out there. They now know how to handle so many situations. Well, the best thing I can tell you is to surround yourself with some seasoned veterans who have gotten shot a couple times.
Yep.
And they will tell you, boy, do we have to proceed with the team. Every T is crossed, every I dotted, because it's not a matter of if something's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen.
Totally.
I have students building micro-unit condominiums right now. Well, as you know, condominiums, not a lot of condominiums have been built, especially in the state of Washington, because of the liability. So it's not a matter of if you're going to get sued for construction defect. You will get sued. So when you get sued, are you prepared to defend yourself against that lawsuit? You go in knowing you're going to get sued. That's the climate. So entrepreneurship really requires a team. And I'm blessed to be on a lot of teams with a lot of high-powered entrepreneurs to help them see what experience hasn't taught them yet.
I think that this is a really good road that we're on right now. Greg, let's keep talking about this for a second. I think there are most of the people that listen to this podcast are a little bit newer. Mm-hmm. How would someone begin to start to build a team if they really and truly, maybe they've done a few deals and they really and truly feel like this is for them?
Right.
How do you start to build that team?
Really, really fairly simple. I want you to find and root out in your community the seasoned veterans. You mentioned Dr. Wayne Taylor. I met Dr. Taylor 15 plus years ago, and that guy has taken a seminar from me at least once a year, every year since I met him. Every year. I just saw him 3 days ago in Las Vegas, Nevada. He wouldn't miss it. He's a student of the game. Well, I guarantee you Dr. Wayne Taylor has a team of attorneys that help him with his portfolio and his acquisition efforts. You find a seasoned veteran and you ask them about their team. You see if you can earn the right to get that meeting with them to introduce you to their team, right?
By the way, I'm just going to interject very quickly. By the way, Dr. Wayne Taylor is right here in Birmingham, Alabama. Mm-hmm. He comes to the REI Live meetings. Mm-hmm. He is extremely approachable. He is willing and giving, willing to kind of give you anything that you would ask for. I talked to him this morning. Just an incredible person. I highly encourage you guys to, Greg. That was the incredible first piece of advice. is to find the seasoned investors that are already here in our area. And hopefully it's my job to make sure that they are coming to our meetings to where you guys can get exposed to them. That you can, we even have them as our sometimes they're our keynote speakers. Don't just passively sit on the sidelines. You've got to figure out a way to get into their sphere of influence. We have mastermind groups here in Birmingham with these people who are in them. Get in these groups, get around these people. That's a great first piece of advice.
Let me throw a little syntax advice there, something that seasoned veterans like me we just howl over it. Don't go to an old guy like Dr. Taylor or an old guy like me and say, "Hey, can I pick your brain?" It's a phrase that we absolutely hate. I'm not roadkill and you're not a crow. No, I don't want anybody picking my brain. What you can do is respectfully ask if you could buy us dinner or lunch and ask a few well thought out, respectful questions. As it turns out, 98% of the time when somebody does it that way, I end up buying anyway because I've got more money than they do. But if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, can I jam into your schedule and pick your brain?" Oh, it just turns me off. I can't tell you how much it turns me off.
Yeah.
We're old guys. We have old guy rules. Be respectful. Be courteous.
Yeah.
Show up on time. Right? Spend $50 on a lunch. Right? It's you have to earn the respect of people you want to learn from. And so approach it that way.
I totally agree with that. Like, I get it. I'm not even anywhere close to the level you are, Greg. You've been doing this for so long. You've been so successful doing this. And I get it. Obviously, it's just really because I'm the face of this whole thing. And so I get it. And I rarely do it. But recently I did accept a lunch invitation. Went to lunch with someone who wanted to pick my brain. And the most insulting thing about the whole thing was that they were 10 minutes late. It was just basically, I felt like it was an absolute spit in my face. Yeah. And I agree with what you're saying. There are more ways there are better ways to get influential people around you. One of them is just listen to the podcast. Be like, how do you think I get great guests on our podcast? I have to, nobody knows who I am. I have to try to make some sort of introduction, some sort of networking type of introduction. And so I usually start off by saying, "Hey, I've been following you for a long time. I've been watching a lot of your content. I heard what you said about this and I thought it was phenomenal. Would you mind sharing 20 or 30 minutes of that on a podcast episode where we could get your message out to a big reach of people?" That's right. How I typically approach people. And usually first of all, they're flattered because I'm watching their content. I made a specific reference to something that they said, not just some, I think that you're awesome. A specific reference to let them know that I really am listening to their material, watching their stuff. And then I just cordially ask if I can just borrow 20 to 30 minutes of their time. And I try to phrase it in a way to where it benefits them. How can we get your message out to a lot of people? Right.
Yeah. No, you have it absolutely the textbook way of approaching those that have been around a long time. Now, not everybody that's been around a long time you want to follow. But I do appreciate that you do your research, Brian. And so, yes, great recommendations.
So let's talk about some, and I want to respect your time too, because we're kind of coming up against the clock. But let's just talk about a couple of, and we don't have a ton of time, but just briefly, Greg, mention a couple of things, just entrepreneurship, maybe when it comes to real estate specifically, just a couple of nuggets. I asked one time, if there's to a guy who I respected, what's one thing that you would think is the most important thing when it comes to entrepreneurship? Maybe just one or two nuggets that you could really give people. And I love what you said, and I don't know if this is going to be a part of that, but when you're talking about leverage earlier, you kind of just gave us just a little morsel. Maybe tie that in a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's wild, Brian, because as an educator, I started teaching acquisition finance negotiation at the university, 30 some years ago. I've been a student of this game my entire life, and have put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of what I think I know on CDs, this and that. And you're always learning, you're always growing. If I were to condense some basics down into just some sound bites that are really critical, they would flow something like this. First of all, the dirt, the land, the location is far more important than the structure, right? You have to find the demand in real estate, and demand is so centered around location. You can own 3/4 of this country and it doesn't matter. Nobody wants it. You've got to be owning and controlling what people want. That's critical. So, I shoot with the rifle. I don't just go anywhere to buy real estate. I really identify the locations where I want to own real estate. The second thing is that the finance structure, real estate is simply the clothing that finance wears. The essence of a real estate transaction, once you're in the right location, the essence of the real estate transaction is the deal structuring. How that deal is structured, how it's put together. And this is a study that, I get people together for a Power Players Intensive. We have in 4 days, we have almost 80 hours in 4 days, if you can believe that, of finance and deal structuring, private money, involving the seller in financing, all sorts of tools, options that following a declining balance, options that roll into a private note, contract for deeds, notes, deeds of trust, the negotiation of notes, staggered notes, substitution of security clauses, taking notes, breaking them up into smaller notes and distributing the collateral across various properties. These are concepts that aren't just concepts, they're done every day in the lives of my students. But we have to understand not only the toolbox of real estate and the intimate multiple tools, that's the left brain side of this business. But then the right brain side is we have to be able to communicate and put that proposal in front of people from grade levels 8 to an average of 14. And so sometimes you bring out your color crayons and you lay out a complex deal, but where literally an 8-year-old could understand it. And other times you could have more sophisticated conversations given your audience, and you can bring out a sharp pencil and a calculator. But your ability to communicate and negotiate is the right brain side. The left brain is the intricate numbers and deal structure. It was so encouraging to watch these hour-long presentations this last weekend in Las Vegas. I promise you, a room of seasoned real estate veterans just stood there, shook their head at the deal structuring that was done in these transactions. Buying a property involving the seller in a note. Okay, that sounds simple enough. But why would you create multiple notes on one property? All with different rates and different time frames and different collaterals.
Why would you?
And why would you put a substitution of security clause on a 8-plex when you don't even own another property to move the collateral to? But then all of a sudden they evolve the transaction into a condominium conversion, and now you have 8 separate legal descriptions. So to be able to slice the note up and encumber 4 of them, leaving 4 free and clear, 8 first position lien instruments versus 1. The world of real estate deal structuring is a life study, but you have to begin somewhere. You have to be serious about it. The master series that I put out there is 100 hours of deal structuring, 100 hours. And I have students that have listened to that series 15 times. It's sort of the Bible of real estate entrepreneurship, because deal structuring is at the heartbeat of every transaction. Remember, finance is the epicenter. The real estate is simply the clothing that finance wears. So, okay, you've got location, you've got deal structuring, the art form of negotiation. I've spent a lifetime studying under Dr. Michael Shadow. He is the guy in the world of understanding the art form of negotiation. And people think, oh, I talk to people well. What does that have to do with being a good negotiator? Nothing. Most of negotiating is listening. It's an intellectual chess match that matches your audience, that takes it from where they are to where they're going. They arrive where you want them to arrive, but they didn't even know that you wanted them to arrive there. That's negotiation. When you get everything you want and they don't even know what you want. This, here's my offer, take it or leave it. That's not negotiating. That's bullying. Negotiation is sophisticated. It's high level. It's a three-dimensional chessboard. Dr. Wayne Taylor gave a presentation at the All-Star years ago, and he went through an hour-long negotiation, every chess move on one deal, with attorneys and CPAs representing the seller there at multiple meetings over the course of a year. Multiple meetings, like every Saturday for a year. He finally wore out the attorneys and the CPAs because he knew more about deal structuring than they did. And the seller finally said, whatever this guy says is way smarter than what you're coming up with. Let's just do it the way he's got arranged. That's how smart Dr. Wayne Taylor is. But I'll tell you, he studied it. You should see his library at his house.
No.
I'm impressed by those who are not just interested in this. I'm impressed by those that are committed to the highest level of education in both the left and right brain.
And Greg, that's what it takes, right? If you're really going to do it the right way.
That's what it takes. You know, my objective day one, Brian, when I thought, oh my God, I've got Jeff and Kelly paying for this house. I'm going to buy more houses. I declared day one that my objective in life at that point was to never have a W-2 in my life. And you know, it sounded easier then than I've learned it to be. The road of entrepreneurship, boy, again, you're the CEO of every department of your business. It's up to you to bring on people smarter than you in different areas and build and sustain. Doing anything once is great. Doing it over 40 years is sustainable. Your confidence helps you realize that there's a jillion ways I can go out and create value, improve the lives of other people while making money. I believe that's a principle. You've got to give before you even should hope to receive. And so when you take your philosophy, your mindset, you know, a lot of people talk about the tools. A lot of people dangle the tool. This is what will get results. They're way ahead of the game when they even talk about tools. Before tools, we've got to analyze our belief system, our hard drive. That will lead to possibilities, open or closed. Possibilities allow us to have intention. Intention allows us to see opportunity. And opportunity allows us to finally use the tools that we have. You see how far away tools are?
Mm-hmm.
They're 5 steps away from even being used. Everybody wants the magic wand and the tool. No. Let's start with your belief system.
Totally agree.
Right? And that opens or closes the door of possibility, creates focused intention, allows us to see opportunity. Now we get to use our tools, which create extraordinary results, which automatically redefine our belief systems. It's like an upgrade in our belief system. And now we go around the circle again and again and again. And this is the life we're intended, that our life goes upward and outward and becomes more amazing every year. And yet when you look around, does that look like the lives you see everywhere? Thoreau says most people live lives of quiet desperation. They're stuck. And we all know, Brian, that treading water is a precursor to drowning. And yet you see people just treading water everywhere. I believe in the full package of success. And it's more than just making money. I've made more money by the time I was 30 than most people make in an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
An entire lifetime. So money loses its value. Success is measured in moments, depth, connection, people. That's at the heartbeat of why we do what we do. At the end of the day, nobody's going to ask me how many buildings have I bought.
That's right.
How many buildings have I built? At the end of the day, it's the level of my connection with people that's going to matter.
Yeah.
And so when we work backwards, everything in real estate, we pencil backwards, right? The after repaired value, the finished product, and then we come back to here. Well, what if we penciled life that way? From our last day, I used to have all my students at the university write a paper, told them half their grade depended on it. That got their attention. And the paper was, on your Memorial Day, who's going to be there and what are they going to say? Think about it. Talk about penciling the end. But then you work backwards and you make what you want to have happen by what you do every single day. So our toolbox is a function of our philosophy. And in philosophy is everything. It's everything. I hope that, it's hard to condense it, but those are some things that I really think are on point about what I'd like to communicate about entrepreneurship in life.
For sure.
I'll say one more thing. If you are a full-time entrepreneur, you better have the right spouse, because this isn't a paycheck every 2 weeks. This isn't what people call security, right? In other words, you have to have the kind of support structure at home that allows you to go create, that allows you to go live an entrepreneurial life.
Yeah.
You know that. You've got a great bride, a great family. I don't mean just your spouse, your kids.
Yeah.
They've got to realize that the structure that you're working within is very different than the guy that works from 8 to 5 and is home at 5:30.
Yeah.
I've sat in many dinners where the phone call I've been waiting for comes in and I've got to brush my teeth quick and I'm out the door. Everybody understands that. There's the give and take. And so your lifestyle and the people you're with have to match the fact that you've chosen to be a full-time entrepreneur.
That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, Greg. I can't thank you enough for dropping some tidbits. And you're coming to speak in Birmingham.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time.
We're going to have you January the 10th right here in Birmingham. Do I have the date right?
You do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
January 10th, Greg is coming to Birmingham, and I would love, obviously, you can speak about a lot of different topics. You're very, well-rounded entrepreneur and investor, but I love what you were talking about earlier. The location, the finance structure is fascinating, completely fascinating. I hear a lot of people talk about, and I stole this, being a transactional engineer, just engineering transactions creatively to make sure that they happen.
Right.
Talking about the finance structure, the art of the negotiation, those three pieces. Is that something that you might talk about?
That's exactly where we'll be, on point, right? I'll give it my very best to pack in as much in an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever you give me. It'll be hard, fast, and consistent. I can promise you that.
It's going to be awesome. We're very excited to have you in Birmingham on January the 10th. Guys, make sure you mark that on your calendar. Until then, Greg, tell people how they might be able to get a hold of you or learn more about you and things like that.
You bet. The very, very best way is just, I'm going to give you my cell phone number. My wife doesn't have another number. Give me a call, and if I don't pick up, it'll go to a voicemail, and I will be back to you in a matter of an hour.
I thought I was special that I had it.
Understand, I'm an old school guy. I answer all my calls. I have conversations with great people. We may have to set a time up a day or two down the line where we are on point. I schedule my life down to the minute. Kipling says it's our task to fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds of distance run. Well, I get it. I do it. 206-226-7777. 206-226-7777. You could email me at greg@thecoreco.com. You could check out the website, the Core Company, COR Company. If I can help, I'm in the game. That's what I want to do.
Greg, can't thank you enough for coming on the show and giving some incredible wisdom, and for sharing a difficult topic as well. We really do appreciate that you did that. We really
Part of the journey, Brian, part of the journey. So no problem. I appreciate you allowing me a chance to talk to your audience, and I look forward to seeing you in January.
Awesome. Can't wait to have you in Birmingham in January. Guys, we love you so much. Hit that subscribe button right now. Don't forget to do it. Hit the subscribe button. We'll put all of Greg's notes in the show notes. We'll put his phone number, his email address, we'll link up all the different links to his websites, everything all in the show notes. So make sure you get a hold of Greg if anything today was interesting for sure. We love you guys so much. We'll see you next time.